Everyone, welcome back to part 2 of the singing lesson. She raised the button, she tapped the music stand twice. Down came Marie on the opening chord. Down came all those left hands beating the air, and in chimed those young, mournful voices. Chime means singing in a same voice. Fast are too fast, fade the roses of pleasure. Soon autumn yields unto winter drear. Fleetly. Fleetly means swiftly. Fleetly, music's gay measure passes away from the listening ear. So that was the lament. Good heavens, what could be more tragic than that lament? Every note was a sigh, a sob, a groan of awful mournfulness. Miss Meadows lifted her arms in the white gown and began conducting with both hands. I feel more and more strongly that our marriage would be a mistake, she beat, and the voices cried, Fleetly, fleetly. What could have possessed him to write such a letter? What could have led up to it? It came out of nothing. His last letter had been all about a fumed oak bookcase she had bought for our books, and nutty little hall stand. Nutty means stylish. He had seen a very neat affair with a carved owl on a bracket holding three hat brushes in its claws. How she had smiled at that, so like a man to think one needed three hat brushes. From the listening ear sang the voices. Now all the girls they were singing the same lament given to them by their music teacher, Miss Meadows. As every note of that lament was a sigh, a sob, and a groan of awful mournfulness. And then Miss Meadows was in her own thoughts, and she was thinking about whatsoever has been written in that letter. That the line, I feel more and more strongly that our marriage would be a mistake, which has been written by his fiancée. Now, she was thinking about a netty little house stand. He had seen a very neat affair with a carved owl on a bracket and holding three half brushes in its claws. So she was thinking about a little hall stand, and then she smiled at that. So, like a man to think, one needed three hard brushes, and then the voices of from the listening ear is coming once again. Once again, said Miss Meadows, but this time in parts, still without expression. Fast are too fast. Miss Meadows ordered them to sing it once again. But this time it should be sung in parts and still without any other expression. मतलब उसको जो गाना है वो बिना किसी भाव के गाना है, फ्लैट गाना है और टुकड़ों में गाना है. Fast are too fast with the gloom of the contraltos added. Now, contraltos means lowest female singing voice. It has been added. One could scarcely help shuddering, fade the roses of pleasure. Last time he had come to see her, Basil had worn a rose in his buttonhole. How handsome he had looked in that bright blue suit with that dark red rose, and he knew it too. He could not help knowing it. First he stroked his hair, then his mustache. His teeth gleamed when he smiled. So she was reminiscing the days when last time he came there to see her and he was wearing a rose in his buttonhole. He was looking very handsome in his bright blue suit and with that dark red rose, and he knew about it. He has been touching his hair and then his mustache. He was patting over there, and his teeth gleamed whenever he was smiling. The headmaster's wife keeps on asking me to dinner. It's a perfect nuisance. I never get an evening to myself in that place. But can't you refuse? Nuisance a person causing inconvenience or annoyance. Oh well, it doesn't do for a man in my position to be unpopular. When he tells her that the headmaster's wife, she keeps on asking him to dinner, and that was a sort of nuisance. And at that time, he never got an evening to himself in that place. So she said, "But can't you refuse?" And his opinion was, according to him, he should not afford to be unpopular among people. Music's gay measure wailed the voices, the willow trees outside the high, narrow windows waved in the wind. They had lost half their leaves, the tiny ones that clung wriggled like fishes caught in a line. I am not a marrying man. The voices were silent. The piano waited. Now, when that voice was coming, music came as the singing voices were coming, and the willow trees, which was outside the high and narrow, outside high and narrow windows, they were waving in the wind, and the willow trees, they have lost half of their leaves. And the smaller one, they clung, wriggled like fishes caught on a line. जैसे fishes एक लाइन में पकड़ी जाती हैं, उसी तरह से वो वहाँ छोटी छोटी पत्तियाँ उससे चिपकी हुई थी. Again, the words written by Basil reminded by her that I am not a marrying man, and the voices were silent, and the piano was waiting. Quite good, said Miss Meadows, but still in such a strange, stony tone that the younger girls began to feel positively frightened. But now that we know it, we shall take it with expression. As much expression as you can put into it. Think of the words, girls. Use your imaginations fast, too fast, cried Miss Meadows. That ought to break out a loud, strong forte, a lament, and then in the second line, winter drear, make the drear sound as if a cold wind were blowing through it. Drear, said she so awfully that Mary Beasley, on the music stool, wriggled her spine. The third line should be one crescendo. Crescendo is a piece of music that gets longer. Fleetly, music's gay measure. Breaking on the first word of the last line passes and then on the word away. You must begin to die, to fade until the listening ear is nothing more than a faint whisper. You can slow down as much as you like almost on the last line. Now, please. So, as per this paragraph, Miss Meadows was satisfied with the singing of the girls, and but what next step is to be taken, that we shall take it with expression. So previously she told them not to sing with an expression. Now the expressions she wanted, so she wanted that they have to increase the expression in it, and they have to think about the words, and they have to think about their imaginations fast or too fast. Miss Meadows was almost crying at that time. That ought to break out aloud, strong forte, a layman. Means she wanted to put all the expression and the thoughts into that lament, and then in the second line, winter drear make that drear sound as if a cold wind were blowing through it drear. And these lines she said so awfully that even Mary Beasley, one of her favorite students on the music stool, she was feeling wriggle in her spine. Then she was struggling about the third line, crescendo means a piece of music should be there that gets longer, जो थोड़ी लंबी हो जाती है म्यूजिक, उसके बारे में वो बताती हैं. Breaking on the first word of the last line passes. Last line का first word तोड़ते हुए passes, and then on the word away you must begin to die, to fade, until the listening ear is nothing more than a faint whisper. You can slow down as much as you like, almost on the last line now, please. So Steve was instructing where to give high note, where to give slow note as per the layman, and the instruction was very strict at that time. So all the girls, those who were listening to the instruction, they were not feeling easier. Again, the two light taps, she lifted her arms again, fast, too fast, and the idea of settling down fills me with nothing but disgust. Disgust was that he had written. That was as good as to say the engagement was definitely broken off. Broken off, the engagement. People had been surprised enough that she had got engaged. The science mistress would not believe it at first, but nobody had seemed as surprised as she. So, when she was thinking about the idea of settling down fills me with nothing but disgust. And the word term disgust came. तो एकदम से उन्हें वही याद आ जाता है जो उनके फियांसी ने लिखा है, बैसिल ने लिखा है, डिस्गस्ट वर्ड. डिस्गस्ट को काट के उन्होंने रिग्रेट लिखा है. So that was as good as to say the engagement was definitely broken off. Means she was thinking he should not cut off that word from that letter. It should have been written because their engagement has been broken off, and that is why that word was required. People had been surprised enough that she had got engaged. लोगों को जब वो उसकी इंगेजमेंट हुई तो लोग बहुत आश्चर्यचकित हुए, उनको बहुत आश्चर्य हुआ. एंड द साइंस मिस्ट्रेस शी वुड नॉट बिलीव इट एट फर्स्ट, उनको विश्वास ही नहीं हुआ होगा. बट नो बडी हैड सीन एज सरप्राइज एज शी. But according to her, in her opinion, she has been much more surprised after listening to it. She was 30, Basil was 25. It had been a miracle, simply a miracle, to hear him say as they walked home from church that very dark night, "You know, somehow or other, I have got fond of you." And he had taken hold of the end of her ostrich feather boa, passes away from the listening ear. So she was 30 and Basil was 25 years of age, and it was really a miracle for her that when Basil said to her when they were coming back from the church that very dark night that he has been fond of her. And she was wearing ostrich feather boa. Boa is a fashion accessory usually worn wrapped around the neck like a scarf. एक उसमें फेदर लगे होते हैं और वो गले में पहनी जाती है स्कार्फ की तरह. आपने देखा होगा, अगर आपने कोई इंग्लिश सीरियल देखा हो या कोई मूवी देखी हो तो वो गले में लेडीज़ पहने रहती हैं और बहुत अच्छा लुक देता है वो. तो शी वॉज टचिंग द एंड ऑफ दैट ostrich feather boa. Repeat, repeat, said Miss Meadows. More expression, girls, once more. So she was instructing her students to repeat that line passes away from the listening ear with more expressions and once more. Fast, too fast. The older girls were crimson. Some of the younger ones began to cry. Big spots of rain blew against the windows, and one could hear the willows whispering, "Not that I do not love you." So, when they were singing the lament and with the expression, so all of them were in the same feeling. Most of the younger ones began to cry. Older ones were like crimson. मतलब उनको वो टेंशन में थी, तनाव में थी. तो बिग स्पॉट्स ऑफ रेन ब्लू अगेंस्ट द विंडोज, और खिड़की से बारिश की थोड़ी सी बूंदें आने लगी और कोई भी सुन सकता था बाहर के विलाउज, जो बाहर पेड़ लगे हुए हैं, नीचे उनकी डाली तक झुकी हुई हैं। तो the willows are the tree with thin long branches often grows near water. पानी के पास ये वाले पेड़ उगते हैं. And the same voice was being whispered by the willows, not that I do not love you. The line which has been written in that letter forwarded to her and sent to her by Bessel. But, my darling, if you love me, thought Miss Meadows, I don't mind how much it is. Love me as little as you like, but she knew he did not love her. Not to have cared enough to scratch out that word disgust, so that she could not read it. Soon autumn yields unto winter drear. She would have to leave the school too. She could never face the science mistress or the girls after it got known. She would have to disappear somewhere passes away. The voices began to die, to fade, to whisper, to vanish. So she was thinking if he could have loved her, she could not have mind how much it is. She wanted he could have loved her if a little he could. But she knew very well now he doesn't love her. And moreover, he is not caring about her. If he would have cared, he would not have cut disgust and then written another word upon it. उसको मतलब उसका ये है यहाँ पे कहना, यहाँ वो ये कहना चाहती है कि वो पूरा डिस्गस्ट इस तरह से इरेज करता या उसको इस तरह से स्क्रैच करता कि वो दिखता नहीं, लेकिन वो चाहता था वो उसे दिखे. अब वो ये सोचती है कि उसे ये स्कूल भी छोड़ना होगा, बिकॉज नाउ शी डजंट वांट टू फेस साइंस मिस्ट्रेस एंड द गर्ल दोज हु विल कम टू नो लेटर ऑन. उसे कहीं गायब हो जाना होगा, passes away. And the voices began to die, to fade, to whisper, to vanish. और आवाज़ें बंद होने लगी, गायब होने लगी और धीरे धीरे आने लगी. Suddenly the door opened. A little girl in blue walked fussily up the aisle, hanging her head, biting her lips, and twisting the silver bangle on her red little wrist. She came up the steps and stood before Miss Meadows. तो अचानक से उनका डोर खुलता है. एक छोटी लड़की जो अचानक से आती है एंड वो आयल के पास आके खड़ी हो जाती है. आयल इज़ अ पैसेज बिटवीन द रोज ऑफ सीट्स इन चर्च और अ थिएटर. सो शी बाइट्स हर लिप्स, शी बिट्स एंड ट्विस्टिंग द सिल्वर बैंगल, अपनी सिल्वर बैंगल को घुमाती है अपने लाल छोटी सी कलाई पर, और वो आगे बढ़ती है और मिस मिडाउस के सामने खड़ी हो जाती है. वेल मोनिका, व्हाट इज इट? ओह, इफ यू प्लीज मिस मिडाउस, सेड द लिटिल गर्ल गैस्पिंग. मिस व्हाट? wants to see you in the mistress room. Gasping means a sudden loud breath with your mouth. तो वो उससे कहती है कि मिस मिडाउस, मिस वाट आपको मिस्ट्रेस रूम में देखना चाहती हैं. Very well, said Miss Meadows, and she called to the girls, I shall put you on your honor to talk quietly while I am away. But they were too subdued to do anything else. Subdued means to defeat someone. Most of them were blowing their noses. Said Miss Meadows, okay, very well, and she called to the girls, I shall put you on your honor to talk quietly while I am away. मैं तुम पे छोड़ती हूँ, तुम्हारे सम्मान पे छोड़ती हूँ कि तुम्हें बहुत धीरे बात करनी है जब मैं जा रही हूँ. बट दे वर टू सबड्यूड टू डू एनीथिंग एल्स. मतलब वो एक तरह से हार चुके थे, थक चुके थे वो लेमन गाते गाते, और वो कुछ भी नहीं कर सकते थे. तो मोस्ट ऑफ देम वर ब्लोइंग देयर नोसेस. ज़्यादातर अपने उनकी जो है नोज दैट वॉज ब्लोइंग आउट, एंड दे वर नॉट इन अ हैप्पी मूड. They mean students, girls of that music class. The corridors were silent and cold. They echoed to Miss Meadow's steps. The headmistress sat at her desk for a moment. She did not look up. She was, as usual, disentangling her eyeglasses, which had got caught in her lace tie. Sit down, Miss Meadows, she said very kindly, and then she picked up a pink envelope from the blotting pad. I sent for you just now because this telegram has come for you. So the corridors were silent and cold, and they were echoed by Miss Meadows' steps only. Meadows went over there, and the headmistress was sitting at her desk. For a moment, she did not look up. एक बार तो उन्होंने ऊपर देखा ही नहीं, and she was, as usual, disentangling. Disentangling means to free from a confused situation. The her eyeglasses जो उसके उनके फेस पर एक लेस से बंधे हुए थे, वो मिस मिडाउस को बैठने को कहती हैं, बहुत आराम से, बहुत प्यार से, बहुत दयालुता से। तब वो एक गुलाबी रंग का लिफाफा उठाती हैं ब्लॉटिंग पैड से। मैंने आपको इसलिए बुलाया था तुरंत क्योंकि आपके लिए एक टेलीग्राम आया है। अ टेलीग्राम फॉर मी, मिस वाट? यू कैन pronounce it Miss White also. White. A telegram for me, Miss White? Basil, he had committed suicide, decided Miss Meadows. Her hand flew out, but Miss White held the telegram back a moment. I hope it's not a bad news, she said, so more than kindly, and Miss Meadows tore it open. So many thoughts were thundering in her mind, Miss Meadows' mind. क्या बैसिल ने सुसाइड तो नहीं कर लिया? But Miss White understood, and she held the telegram back and she said, it might not be a bad news. ये एक बुरी खबर नहीं होगी. So more than kindly, and Miss Meadows ने उसको खोला. Pay no attention to letter, must have been mad. Brought hat stand today. Basil, she read. She could not take her eyes off the telegram. On the telegram it was written कि पिछले लेटर को कोई ध्यान मत दो, शायद वो मेरे पागलपन में लिखा गया होगा, और मैं आज हेयर स्टैंड खरीद रहा हूँ. शी रेड, उसने पढ़ा. वो उस टेलीग्राम से अपनी आंखें नहीं हटा पाई. आई डू होप इट्स नथिंग वेरी सीरियस, सेड मिस वाइट. मिस वाइट सेड, leaning forward, that she hopes there is nothing serious. Oh no, thank you, Miss White, blushed Miss Meadows. It's nothing bad at all. And she gave an apologetic little laugh. It's from my fiancé. Saying that, there was a pause. I see, said Miss White. And another pause. Then you have 15 minutes more of your class, Miss Meadows, haven't you? So there was a good news, and she gave an apologetic little laugh. It's from my fiancé saying, and the words were just stuck over there in her throat. She kept quiet, and Miss White reminded her that she has 15 minutes more of her class. Yes, Miss White, she got up, वो खड़ी हो जाती हैं. She half ran towards the door. Oh, just 1 minute, Miss Meadows, said Miss White. I must say I don't approve of my teachers having telegrams sent to them in school hours, unless in case of very bad news, such as death, explained Miss White, or a very serious accident, or something to that effect. Good news, Miss Meadows, will always keep, you know. On the wing of hope, of love, of joy, Miss Meadows sped back to the music hall, up the aisle, up the steps, over to the piano. Page 32, Marie, she said, page 32, and picking up the yellow chrysanthemum, she held it to her lips to hide her smile. Then she turned to the girls, rapped with her baton. Page 32, girls, page 32. We come here today with flowers overladen, with baskets of fruits and ribbons to boot, to congratulate. Stop, stop, cried Miss Meadows. This is awful. This is dreadful. and she beamed at her girls. What's the matter with you all? Think, girls, think of what you are singing. Use your imaginations with flowers all laden, baskets of fruit and ribbons to boot, and congratulate. Miss Meadows broke off. Don't look so doleful, girls. It ought to sound warm, joyful, eager, congratulate. Once more quickly all together, now then. And this time Miss Meadows' voice sounded over all the other voices, full, deep, glowing with expression. So at last Miss White was telling her that she doesn't allow her school teacher to have that telegrams in school hours until or unless there is very genuine reason. And she knew that it is a genuine reason, a reason for happiness for Miss Meadows. So she gave it to her. Miss Meadows was too happy and she wanted to sing a merry song along with her children, and that is why she changed the page 32. They have to open a nice song for the joy, for the merriment, and then she was instructing her students to sing it with merriment and joy. And this time Miss Meadows' voice sounded over all the other voices, full, deep, and glowing with expression. So this changed the mood of Miss Meadows when she got to know that it was a sort of madness, a sort of joke by Basil, and now he is ready to get married with her. Or he was happy, his fiancée was happy, and now she is happy, and all of a sudden her mood has been changed. I hope you would have understood whatsoever I have taught. Thank you.